A game I don't hear talked about very much is Rune Factory, A Fantasy Harvest Moon. When I was between probably the ages 8 and 10, I had some older cousins who were all into Harvest Moon, and I wanted to be a part of that, and so I asked my dad for Harvest Moon, and he went over to Toys R Us and couldn't find it. So he picked up Rune Factory and brought it home, and I opened it up and I saw Wooloo's inside on the pamphlet, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm already hooked. And I loaded that game up, and it proceeded to absolutely absorb my life. The sketch I'm coloring today is of Chipsqueaks, which are one of the tameable monsters that you can find in the first cave, and then later on you can find them in the golden color. I've wanted to make fan art of Rune Factory for so long, and I've always been procrastinating. I've always had other things to do, and sometimes I would forget about it for a while, but I'm really excited that I finally got a chance to sit down and that I get to talk about it too. So the game that I played, that I grew up on, was the first edition of Rune Factory, where the character that you play is male, and his name is Raguna, and he stumbles upon this village or this town, and he's got amnesia. He doesn't remember where he's from, and this girl called Mist gives him a farm, and basically it's just a farming sim. You till your farm, and you grow your crops, and you tame monsters, and it's just simple and fun, and it's an RPG, so you can get to know the townsfolk, and as you progress through the game, you unlock more content and more dialogue, and each character has their own storyline that you can follow and learn about as you go. Honestly, the concept is really similar to Stardew Valley, but Rune Factory came out 10 years before Stardew Valley did, so I probably would have gotten into Stardew Valley if I hadn't gotten into Rune Factory first, and I honestly still might. I want to play Stardew Valley. It's on my list. I just haven't got around to purchasing it and investing time into it yet. If you had a Nintendo DS or DSi growing up, you probably remember those little game cards, and how easy it is to lose them as a disorganized little child with all of your things all over the place. And I lost Rune Factory for a while, but I never stopped thinking about it, and I just craved it. I wanted to play it, and I couldn't find it, and that went on for a bit because I couldn't play it for most of my adult years because I had no idea where it was, and I couldn't find a place to buy it anymore. I knew I could buy a newer version of the game because they made four editions of it, but I'm a sucker for nostalgia, and I really wanted to have that experience that I had when I was a kid. I wanted to play through and remember those feelings that I had when I first started playing it, and that excitement and that charm that it had, and I didn't want to get a new one. When I moved out this summer, I found my Rune Factory game, and I lost my Nintendo DSi. So finally, I have this game back, and it's sitting here, and it's taunting me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have the game, and I no longer have the console, so I couldn't take it anymore, and I started doing some research on Rune Factory games, and what was available, and what console do I have? Well, I have a Switch, a Nintendo Switch, so the only Rune Factory games on the Switch were the newer ones. The original's not available anymore. So when I was looking into which Rune Factory game I wanted to get for my Switch, I saw that the 4th version of Rune Factory was the most similar to the first one, just with some quality of life updates and extra content. So I decided to go with that, and I didn't get very far before college started up again, but I've been really enjoying that, and once again, I'm seeing the Chipsqueaks and all the other monsters, and I'm just like, I love them, I need them all to be my pets. The first time I saw these little squirrel critters, I didn't know they were coming. I didn't understand the internet too much. I was still a child, and I didn't look anything up before I started playing. I was just going through the game, figuring it out like a puzzle without asking any questions. I think that makes it all the more charming when you just get to find everything out as a surprise. But anyways, I was doing this dungeon run and I came around into the next room and these little red fluff balls were hurling themselves at me and I was immediately in love. And I had to have them, and so I dedicated the next couple weeks of my playing to figuring out how to tame them and how to build a monster barn and how to get that much wood and that much money and saving up for all the things. And then of course you have to wait in-game time for them to complete and getting the monster taming glove. And then finally I was able to go and get myself some little red chipmunk monsters, and I was so happy. And I've always wanted a plushie of one of these guys, but I haven't been able to find one that's not weird looking. I think there's a couple out there, but what I have in my head is different. Someday when I have my own home and I'm able to make plushies myself, if I have like a drawing setup studio where it's like bigger than a little desk, like a little office, I can have a sewing machine, I'd like to be able to try making some custom plushies myself, and I will definitely want to make myself my dream Chipsqueak plushie, because how cute are these guys? Rune Factory's graphics remind me a lot of Animal Crossing Wild World. It's very pixelated and it's very blocky, but I really think that it's charming that way. I don't think it needs to be crisp and clear and flawless. I think photorealism and CGI stuff is really overrated, and the old style games are just very touching. I just like them a lot. I think that's just the style of graphics that I prefer, or maybe it's an art style preference. If you like farming sims and you haven't tried playing Rune Factory, I highly recommend giving it a go because it's super fun and it's overall, it's really well made. Especially Rune Factory 4 has a ton of content in it, and it goes really smooth so far. It seems to be really well written too, and I'm really enjoying it, and I recommend it. I actually was never able to play the first game all the way through to the end. I only had one save file, and I played on that one save file the whole time, and I got to this point at the end where I was staying up way late every night trying to fight the boss. I think it may have even been the final boss, but I'm not absolutely positive. It seemed like it was going to be the final boss. I really thought it was the big finale. And I was so close, and I think my adult self, if I was able to go back to that file, would be able to complete the game. But my childhood self could not, and I lost it before I could figure it out. So I'm really sad that I'm never going to be able to see the ending. And I don't know if I want to spoil it for myself. If I'm able to get the game sometime in the future, I might want to redo it and try to finish what I started without looking anything up. But I don't know if I will. We'll see. Well, thank you for listening to me talk about my favorite childhood DS game and being a little nerdy for a little bit. And I hope that you had fun watching me paint these little guys. And I will see you on Christmas Eve, because that's when my next video is coming out. So, bye!